Hey, everybody, welcome to another perfect intro to Spilling the IT. Today, I have Adam Burke and also Tim Burke. Pretty exciting. How you guys doing?
Great day. Having a good time.
Awesome.
Good.
As you know, so if you are a long time viewer of Spilling the IT, you know how difficult it has been to get Tim Burke on the show. But today, success. It happened. Cut. It's very exciting. Anyways, how you guys doing?
Very glad to be here.
Adam, how's life?
Going good. Can't complain. Doing okay. It's a good day today.
So if I remember right, so guys, right off the bat, let's be honest. You're both very chatty right now. I think it's because you've been sitting in the sun all day doing work.
Well, we have been out in the sun a little bit today. Yes,
A
Okay.
little bit of sunshine, a little bit of outdoor activity.
we have.
So yeah. But I'm fully caffeinated and excited to be here, Paul.
Yeah,
And
I am as well.
Well, I've been inside the whole day in my cave. I have not seen sunlight, so I have tons of energy. I don't know if that's how it works, but that's where I'm at. Um, we only have half an hour. Don't have a lot of time. We're probably going to get questions for Tim. So I want to get all my questions out of the way. Adam, if you have questions, please ask. So, Tim, if you do not know, Tim is the CEO and founder of Quest Technology Management. So really excited. He's created an amazing organization. I thought it'd be great to bring him on, talk to him. So all joking aside, this is a really wonderful opportunity to have a chance to talk to Tim and ask questions and also just learn about his approach to business because spoiler alert, it's very successful. So Tim, I just kind of want to start. What have you been reading any good books recently that have like helped you in business, affected you that you would like to share?
Yeah, I read a lot. I read a lot of business books, but I also read a lot of historical fiction books. And probably the book I read over the summer that I enjoyed most was kind of what I hadn't anticipated even reading or enjoying, and it was called Lost Hope Island. And it was a book about World War II and how everybody in 1939, 1940 all showed up in Great Britain because Europe had fallen and everything was coming apart. And the Polish, the French, Eastern Europeans all were in this one little island, and they all thought of it as the last hope island, and how they from there went out and took back and won World War II. So it was a great book of people, especially in the times we're dealing with right now with all the issues that we have going on, of people coming together and figuring out a way to put a lot of those issues aside and just figure out what they had to do to get back to where they needed to be. It was in essence, an inspiring book. I wouldn't say it was a business book, but it was a great book to just read to understand how people can do that.
Do you love historical I'm curious. I actually don't know. I know you pretty well. As your son, I'd like to think I know you pretty well, but I actually don't know an answer to this. Do you like reading historical fiction because it kind of gives you pause and perspective on like today and the events happening, not necessarily specifically today, but in general, recently? Does it help to kind of give you
Yeah,
perspective on that?
and to clarify that this book is more it's not historical fiction. It's actually pretty accurate history
Okay.
of the time period. But historical fiction, yeah, I do like it because it does provide a fictional tale that you can relate to, but also helps you understand a period of time in the past and compare and contrast that period of time to our own period in time. And very valuable. And from my perspective, and we always think that our world is changing so rapidly, especially in our technology world changing so rapidly. But the world's been changing pretty rapidly for a lot of people for hundreds and thousands of years. So it just kind of brings things into better perspective.
That's funny because one of my questions later was going to be, hey, technology is moving very quickly. But like you
Yes.
just said, everybody thinks that already. Um, do you sometimes think that people they feel like it's moving too fast, or they feel it's moving fast, but if they had some perspective that it's always been moving quickly?
Yeah, I think it has been moving faster. However, I do think perspective is great. I think sometimes we miss the point that the world's always been changing. There's always been issues. There's always been the threat of the end of the world as we know it. And it's nothing relatively new, though we always want to believe in our own time that it's new for us and we're the only ones that have ever dealt with this. And no, we're not the only ones that have ever dealt with it. There's been billions and billions of people who have dealt with it. And so it does help you relax a little bit and realize, no, we'll get through this. It is somewhat calming because technology, as I think I've shared with a lot of you and our team, we used to 30 plus years ago had about a 2 to 3 year window on various technologies that we would get involved with. And we would put plans together and marketing plans and sales plans and technology support plans and work with them for 2 to 4 years, was a life cycle that we could work within. And that life cycle has changed in the last 10 years to probably in the last 5 years, probably got a 4 to 6 month run with most technologies. Within 4 to 6 months, whatever was hot and new 4 to 6 months ago, or whatever the issues were 4 to 6 months ago, we're dealing with new stuff and we're constantly dealing with new stuff. So the windows are radically compressing that way.
Is that exciting or is that stressful or a little bit of
It's both.
A little bit of both. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So you're always thinking, I've got to make decisions. We have to make decisions. People have to. I mean, that book, "Who Moved My Cheese?" The cheese is constantly getting moved, and you just have to understand that, and you have to understand where that cheese is moving to and what the opportunities are. And from our perspective, what's always been helpful from a strategy standpoint is we typically go to our customers, and our customers will tell us where that cheese is moving. And we try to really listen to those customers and how can we help those customers. Every time I've decided I knew where the cheese was moving and I came out with a great strategy and a great plan in my mind, and thought this is what we're gonna do, this is where the market's going, candidly, I've fallen flat on my face. When I don't listen to our customers and the marketplace will tell us. I mean, it's going to tell us where things are going and how things are changing and how you need to adapt and address those things.
Have you always been? This is so funny because these are all questions that I've never asked you, but this show is a fantastic opportunity to ask. Adam, also, if you have questions, feel free to jump in. But also, I have plenty. I'm curious about this. Have you always been as flexible as you are now and able to pivot and realize, listen to the customer and adjust, listen to the customer and adjust? Have you always been that way, or have you more and more, after those failures you mentioned, realized I just kind of got to put my plans a little bit more on the sidelines to focus more on the customer?
Well, early, and I think anybody starting out in their career, one of the biggest challenges you might have is you think you have all the answers, and then when you get to be older and, as they say, wiser, and maybe that's not the case, but you find that know, the more, the less you know, and the less you should really think I've got this figured out. I'm always very surprised when people will now think they've got it figured out. This is what has to happen. This is the way the world works. And it's like, no, I don't have the answers either, but I'm not going to commit that that's the way the world works. This is the way it's going to happen. So I think over experiences and some of those failures, you do learn that the hubris you might have had at youth isn't necessarily serve you well as you move through your career. And I think that has allowed us as a company and me, myself personally, to be more flexible as we approach the market.
Do you wonder if people who, this is totally off script. This is not one of the questions that I had planned. Do you wonder if people are rigid with plans in thinking they know what's best because once they did think they knew what was best and were very successful, and that was such an adrenaline shot, they've been chasing that adrenaline shot again of being right? Does that make sense?
Possibly. I think that's a possibility that maybe you've had that success with doing something and you think, well, all I got to do is keep repeating that, but the world around you changes. And unfortunately, you find yourself sitting there doing that. I do think that a lot of people, and rightfully so, we're trained to have answers. We're trained to have, in school, in college, in business school especially, fill in the blank. You can't. The hardest thing for me to learn in business and running my own business, and boy, when you say it to people, a lot of times they really look at you like, excuse me, I'm not supposed to swear, what the hell? But
you can swear because you know what? I marked this as a not safe for children.
Oh, okay.
Live stream.
Okay.
So feel free to swear.
But the idea is that to say to somebody, I don't know. When you say that to somebody and they think you're supposed to know, especially if I'm a CEO, president of a company, we have all these employees, we have a lot of people we work with around the country, a lot of partners we work with around the country, and you're having a conversation with them and you say, I don't know. Let's look at that. Let's try to understand that. People expect you to know, and people expect themselves to know. And if they don't know, the real problem oftentimes is they fill in the blank. And they fill in the blank with some answer that may or may not be right. And unfortunately, a lot of times it's not right. So the idea that I have to know something, the idea I have to pretend I'm on top of something and know how to respond to it can be very dangerous.
You know what's funny is that you mentioned business school. I can't see a business school passing somebody or even giving them an A saying the answer, I don't know. But that seems to be what business schools should pass or give somebody an A on. The courage to say, I don't know, but I can go find out.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's go find out. But no, in most schools, just look at, and not to get too sidetracked here, but economics, whenever you hear economic theory, the idea is it's taught to you, or most theories, it's taught to you as if someone knew and now we all bought into it. And then 10 years go by and someone says, well, we don't really think that anymore. What do you mean you don't think that anymore? 10 years ago, it was the truth. It was the gospel. How can you say we don't think that anymore? But it's pretty common.
Tim, if there was a good economics podcast I was looking for, is there one you could suggest?
Yeah, Paul, as a matter of fact, there is.
Is there one you love listening to on walks, perhaps?
I do. I listen to a gentleman, they call it Econ Talk. And might just let everyone in the joke, I keep bringing up in the family, hey, did you listen to Econ Talk this week? And everyone looks at me and rolls their eyes. No, I do have one son-in-law that does listen to it, and I am able to ask him that question. So I'm excited.
You think he's just maybe? You think maybe he's just
he might
lying to you?
I don't know.
He's just lying to you to score points as a son-in-law.
I don't know. Maybe he is.
He's like, "Oh, Tim, I loved it," and then he just goes and skips like 10 minutes here and there, pulling out nuggets. So it sounds.
He's reading the clip notes from taking some notes. He's just...
So I know everybody with InQuest knows your approach to business and scarcity versus opportunity mindset, but everybody watching.
Well, I'm not sure about that, but go ahead.
Well,
I've talked about it. I've talked about it for a long time. I'm not sure everyone knows and buys into it, but yeah, we can go past that. Yeah.
They know it. They may not buy into it.
Yeah.
But I think it's really interesting, and I know I grew up hearing that, and I think it really helped me become better and approach business in a better way. So I thought maybe it'd be great for people watching on YouTube and Facebook right now to be aware of just kind of the way you approach business and scarcity versus an opportunity mindset.
Sure. So many years ago, I remember the exact moment where I don't know if it dawned on me, but in readings and so forth, but I was traveling across country and it was nighttime, and the lights were down there, and we're crossing the United States on a flight from California, I'm not sure, New York. And I looked down and I realized all the lights, all the dots of lights that were down there. And all I thought to myself is, oh my gosh, there is a huge amount of opportunity in the world. Look at all those people, those businesses. And so for so many years, you kind of had this narrow perspective in business of where I'm at, the counts that everyone, or the customers that everyone knows of, the customers you have, the customers you don't have. And there's this idea of a limited universe of customers or prospects or whatever you want to call them, potential customers. And I realized on that flight that there was this unlimited number of people that we could help. So my overall premise since I was a kid in starting business, I've always been in love with business. It's my hobby, as my family says. I have based my hobby on, in business, helping people, and in turn, they compensate me for helping them. So when I had a lawn cutting job, cutting lawns on my grandparents' neighborhood street, and all the senior citizens on the street needed help with their yards, there was a lot of opportunity. I did well. And then as I progressed in my business career, I've always held, and by the way, I didn't realize that was what I was doing probably until fairly recently, but I realized that's kind of how I approach business and how I approach opportunities and people.
And that you still have that.
And then I realized there are thousands and thousands and millions of people who need help, possibly in technology, because that's where I've spent my life, is in technology. And then I realized and there's some people who don't need help, don't think they need help. Going back to my lawn cutting example, they cut their own lawn, they edge their own lawn, they rake their own leaves. They're fine. Or maybe they don't care if they cut their lawn or edge their lawn or whatever, but they're fine, and they don't need our help. And I think from an overall philosophy standpoint is, who can we help? Who wants us to help and would like us to help them? And there is just an unlimited number of people out there that are looking and possibly need help. So stop wasting your time with people who don't, and focus on people who do. Go find people who do want our help and want to work with us, because there's an unlimited number. Where a lot of people have the idea that no, there's a very limited number of opportunities, and therefore I've got to go convince them and sell to them and convince them that no, you do need to cut your lawn better. You need to edge it. I understand you like doing your own lawn and doing your own thing, but I got to convince you that I need to do it for you. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, I don't need to do that. There's a lot of people out there who want me to help them. I'm sorry for using the analogy of cutting the lawn, but that's kind of where my background.
No, I think that's great. I think people can wrap their mind around cutting a lawn. I mean, very clearly. That's a really easy analogy to get.
Now we've evolved beyond, just so we're all on the same page here, Quest doesn't cut lawns, okay?
You sold that portion of the business a couple months ago, correct?
We're not in the lawn business anymore. No, we're not doing that anymore, but yeah.
And I think the interesting thing too is that it sucks so much of your energy to try to convince somebody they need your help. So if they say ultimately yes or ultimately no, you've still expelled so much energy that you could have used to go talk to somebody who is interested or find somebody who's more interested. So it's almost like pushing a boulder up a hill.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think there's just a lot of energy spent in the marketplace and business, and a lot of negative energy going into people that try to do things with clients that don't necessarily need their help or want to work with them, and that's fine. It's not personal. It's just they've got it. But remember, for every one of those people, there might be 4 or 5 who really could benefit from what you're offering. And you need to spend your energy to identify those and work with those folks.
One of the cool things that I've found in that strategy is people are always transitioning between different states of needing help or wanting help. So like, even if you check in with someone at one single point in time, kind of to Tim's point around the abundance, you can circle back to them in 12 months, and all of a sudden they may have transitioned to an area where they are ready to receive help, or something may change in their life, and they're not able to mow their lawn anymore. They're not able to do what they were able to do previously, and they do need some help. So it can transition into that zone of needing help or needing assistance. So,
yeah, that's a great point.
I'd never heard of. I didn't hear about the plane flight, like looking down and seeing all the.
No.
That's neat. That is really neat.
And if you not to promote another program here, of course, I'm sure everyone wants to watch your program here, Paul. But there's a program on
program. This is Quest's program.
I'm sorry. There's a program on PBS every night. I don't know what it's called anymore, but it's in our area. It's basically the news program, and as part of that news program, they have all the PBS stations light up across the country, and that map of all those PBS stations just lighting up across the country is that same feeling of there's a big world out there. There's a big world, and there's a lot of companies and individuals that potentially could benefit from our services. I just got to go identify who they are. And how can we help them.
Is that why you got into tech? That you enjoyed helping people, and did you? Because that's another thing. I don't know.
I got into tech because I needed a job out of college.
Okay.
I had gotten married, and I was out of college, and I needed a job, and I had a family, an uncle who heard I was going to go to work for being interviewed by another company that was a tech company. And he had something really negative about that tech company.
Which tech company was that?
I won't mention any name, and whatever it was. And he had something really negative about, my degree's in agricultural economics. So it's not tech.
And what did you write your thesis on?
Kiwi fruit.
Interesting.
The propagation and distribution of kiwi fruit. So I got interviewed by a tech company, and an uncle of mine heard that I was interviewing and was so upset, he called another company that he was close to and said, "You need to give my nephew a job."
Wow.
Yeah. So he was very, very prestigious in the tech community. And I had no clue what I was doing. I had no idea about tech. I had taken 2 computer classes in college and didn't do actually very well in either. But
Well, you were working on that kiwi fruit thesis.
I was busy.
You were trying to get that paper done.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got into tech through hatred.
Yeah, vengeance and hatred. Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting.
It was a good time to get into tech, 1977.
Wow.
So there's some very luminary people who got into tech at the same time. They've done a slightly bit better than I have. Bill Gates is one. Some of the other big names in tech got in. 1977 was a big time for many of us who got into tech.
Well, I would not sell Quest short. Very successful. I think what always surprises me is that people sometimes have a hard time buying into your approach to business. But then I want to sit back and be like, well, look at his success. I think there's something to be said for the way he's approaching it if this is the result. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think, yeah, and it's not for everybody. And I certainly don't want to imply, and I always make this point, that other people's approach to the world and how they go after the market, whether they're vendors we work with or partners we work with or end users, customers we work with, we're okay. Everybody does business and works in their own strategies in their own way. I remember one story where a storage manufacturer was so intense, and that was their culture, that they made one of their sales reps sit in one of our customers' lobbies. And I think he sat there for 2 days until he could get a PO signed from the client, because it was like a hunger strike almost to get this PO signed. So that level of intensity, that level of energy, what I consider negative energy, he did get it signed. So I guess it worked. It wasn't energy or approach that I would certainly want to take.
Yeah, that's a lot of waiting.
That's a lot of waiting and just, forcing an issue to happen. Yeah.
As a sales rep, we appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not something I require of my sales team.
When you are looking for somebody to join your sales team, what are you looking for?
That's an interesting question, because it is important that they do have the ability. Sometimes people come from other sales positions where the culture was or very dissimilar to our culture. Mm-hmm. And so that makes it for a hard transition to our culture. The idea that there are so many opportunities, because many of them take the position that the number of opportunities potentially are somewhat limited. So whether or not they have that idea, they're willing to go out and look for new opportunities in a positive way. And they have a pretty broad spectrum of where they're willing to go work. So we work with partners all over the country. And we have a great delivery model, whether it be managed services, professional services, infrastructure services. We don't feel, as I look at that map and all those lights across the country, I look at that and embrace that and say, yeah, I can do that. We're excited to do it. And having people on the team who see the world that way is really critical, if they can see the same way. If they were to come to work for us and join our organization and say, well, I'm only thinking we're going to work within this next, 10 miles or 20 miles of this location, and that's my limit. Mm-hmm. That would be a hard fit in our organization. So we would look, that would not be a good fit.
And you feel like you can kind of figure that out pretty quickly, talking to somebody? Or?
I don't. Sometimes it's hard to figure out, because it's so much in people's heads. It's their consciousness and how they see the world, and sometimes you don't know how they see the world until you work with them and they work with you for a good long period of time. It might take 6 months, it might take 2 years for everybody to understand is this a good fit or not, and that's tough.
When when you do hire somebody and it doesn't work out, or for instance, even in a broader sense, like when you feel like you had a failure, this is another question I wasn't expecting to ask, but I'm really curious about your approach. When you feel like you have a failure, how do you move past that?
Well, first you go through the process of denial. You try to figure out how to make it work. In reality, if you always look back on a circumstance, unfortunately, you've let it drag out usually too long. You haven't you've seen the signs, but you think I can work with this individual. Let's figure out how to make this work. And unfortunately, that on a rare occasion that can happen, but usually not. And so what you have to get to is you got to realize they're an individual. You have to give them support, and in that support, release them what I call back to the universe to find their opportunity. They're obviously, it's not working for them. I mean, if it's working for them, it's working for us. So if it's not working for us, it's not working for them. So how do we come to that realization jointly and then work together to provide them a good exit strategy in the process? But it makes the hiring process, and it makes that whole process very very complex.
That's really interesting that if it's not working for you, it's also not working for them. Because I feel like sometimes when failures happen, you think it's all about you, but it's like, well, it's not working for that other person or that other
Right.
event. Yeah. Okay.
And again, that's that whole concept of failure. Not sure it's a failure. I owned a wood business. I was one of my first ventures after graduating from college was to go into the wood business. Again, another family mythology, but I went into the wood business, and I was going to box firewood, and I knew nothing about boxing firewood. Why I thought I should go out and box firewood, looking back on it, I have no clue. However, it does, and I failed. Lost money, closed it down. Literally, when things didn't work out and I was in such a shock about the whole thing, I left a car running at the Orange County Airport on the curb, rental car, and Hertz had to call and ask where the car was. And I think I left it on the curb because I was in such failure mode. But I realized, no, I learned a lot from that experience, as any experience as we've moved through the business and growing the business. They're learning opportunities. I know that's cliche, but they're failures, but you learn from them and you grow from them, and it's part of your growth and your flow. Yeah.
Okay. No, I was just thinking about that because it is sometimes that I think that when you fail, or when you feel like you fail, you just start to ruminate about that rather than move forward. But it sounds like you're very good at, I mean, while it kind of like consumes you for a little bit, you're like, well, now I got to move forward to something else.
Yeah, I've always, and I don't know necessarily, maybe it's because I have failed so many times, but I've always had to just say, I gotta move forward. I just always have to be moving forward. And whether it's people or circumstances or business opportunities or clients that decide to go different directions, got it. Everybody's in their own world. I can't control the world. Key point there. I can't control the world, but I can control how I am able and willing to flow forward versus ruminating on failure. And I got to just keep figuring out how to move forward. And that served me well.
Is there anything, because you mentioned many of the services Quest offers, is there anything you're excited about moving forward? Like anything that you're excited about within the business that's growing, and you're really excited to explore that service within Quest? I would say like within the next 6 to year, time
Yeah,
frames are helpful.
I'm excited. I know again, it's like it's going to sound kind of cliche that our president and CEO is supposed to say, but I am excited about all the things we do. I'm excited about we've sold products for many years, and it's a lesser part of our overall organization. But I love helping customers who need to buy products and they buy them from us. We do a lot of professional services, and can we help them with professional services? I love to do that. Managed services, our security services, that's exciting right now because unfortunately there's a lot of bad actors out there taking advantage of a lot of companies, and we do have a lot of talent within the organization to help people when they find themselves at the mercy of some of these bad actors. And we've been helping a lot of people with those circumstances, and not only once they get into that situation, but also maybe beforehand to try to minimize their impact. And so our infrastructure services, we're in the middle right now of our team are laying out new technologies in that infrastructure services, 5G around the areas, and helping lay that out. And that's certainly very exciting to be a part of. So whether it's UCAS with a new acquisition we've made, and Unified Communications, sorry for buzzwords, we're really excited about that as well. So a lot of stuff that we're working with and trying to bring to our clients that we can help them with. So it's always back to the idea of, I get excited because I can help deliver a service or a product to a customer that can benefit them. And in all candor, they're going to compensate me for it. So that's always been I'm not a philanthropy, so I've always been good with that idea that trade-off works, and it works well. So.
Nice. Okay. And I should also mention, if you are interested in anything that Quest offers, the website, questsys.com, QUESTSYS.com. You can reach out to us. And Adam, anything I'm forgetting? Or Tim, anything that you wanted to add?
No, I'd like to thank you for making this possible. And sorry, it's been a difficult time to get us scheduled, but I've enjoyed this and enjoy what you and Adam do every week, and look forward to bringing this messaging to our clients. And so thanks again.
Almost forgot. How could I do it? I almost forgot. Our final segment of the show, people love it. They can't get enough of it. They are wondering, what are we watching now? Is there any TV show that you would recommend watching? Any TV series, movies, anything?
Well,
or book, because I know you love reading.
I'm probably the last person on the universe who's not watched it, but because everyone is a Good Place. So Cindy and I, my wife, we've been catching up on The Good Place. We're now made it to season 4. So we're real excited and have watched that. And so that's where we're spending a lot of time right now, is The Good Place. Very nice. Clever, good writing.
That show, love that show. Such a fun show. Adam?
Been watching a Netflix series, or not, it's a AMC, but it's a Turn. About the spies, George Washington.
Oh yeah, I watched that. That was good.
Yeah.
Mom really liked that. Yeah.
Nice.
Good stuff.
Kind of nerve-wracking though.
It's
get you going.
It's intense.
It is intense.
Yeah, it's intense. But it's a good one.
How many seasons?
What's that?
How many seasons?
I think it's 3 or 4.
Yeah, I think it's 3 or 4.
Yeah,
nice.
I'm on like 2.
Speaking of 2, finished season 2 of The Boys. Whoa, that's a lot.
I'm not getting that one past the goalie at my house. So.
Okay. Yeah, it's intense. Would not recommend it for everybody. Yeah, it's a very intense show. But if you're looking for a more lighthearted, well, not lighthearted, but interesting, there's that. I am watching Cursed, which is kind of not a retelling, but it's an interesting sort of like medieval, pre-King Arthur magical show. So that's fun. Yeah.
Nice.
Fun.
Yep.
Good.
Well, that brings us to another end of Spilling the IT. Again, always reach out if you'd like to questsys.com. We are happy to talk and help you with any of your tech problems, or if you're just curious about what we do. So, Tim, Adam, thanks for hanging out.
Great.
Cool.
Thanks very
Paul.
much. Thanks, Paul.
Yep. See you later.
Bye.